Michael Barrett, Chair.
Here.
Rob McLean, Vice Chair. Bart Thomas, Clerk here. Roy Nelson, Treasurer.
Here.
Rob Pemberton, Director.
Here.
Douglas Jackie Jarvie, Director. Marcus Tyler, Director.
Here.
Tim Lewis, Superintendent.
Here. Okay, summary overview of agenda, Superintendent Booth.
Thank you, Chairman Barrett. After our allotted time for any public comments or delegations, we will have the superintendent report portion of our meeting, which will include reports from different district cabinet members and coordinators. When those reports are concluded, we will move into the consent agenda, which will have 16 items. Now, under item H, we need to remove number 7. So you know that, the hiring of Matt Hartfixon as the JV girls basketball coach, as he will no longer be able to coach this season. He had applied and been hired, now he had to back out, because he will be unable. There is a lot to cover in terms of, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there will be a presentation hopefully still during this meeting. And then there's no closed session at this board meeting. But then after reports and the consent agenda, we'll move into the one and only regular action item on the agenda, which is approving the list of bills and wires in the amount of $2,583,149.36. We will then close our meeting out with any miscellaneous items. Then we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda or not?
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Nelson to approve,
I'll second.
second by Pemberton. To approve agenda for October 19th, 2022.
And then for any discussion, I should mention that in the agenda, that presentation that we had originally scheduled, which was the Dream Navigator, with Principal Tracy Olson, she's not able to make it today, so hopefully we will have a substitute presentation, which is a robotics trip. So hopefully they'll swing down here and give a robotics update on the trip, and that'll be the other change in our agenda today.
Yeah, I don't have anything else, yeah, I was gonna ask about that. What's going on with the stuff that's going on at mostly the middle school. But so I'll probably ask you once.
You bet.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? I vote. Public comments and delegations. Do we have anybody, any? We'll move on to reports. Superintendent.
Thank you, Chairman Barrett. And this first part of the report that I have actually does address a little bit of what's going on with the safety and climate. We've continued to experience behavior and discipline problems, particularly in the secondary complex. Behavioral referrals are up compared to last year at this time, but Red Lake School District is not alone in experiencing these increases in discipline referrals and difficult behaviors. Throughout Minnesota and the rest of the country, school leaders and staff members are struggling with what is being referred to as the post-COVID mental health, social emotional learning, and other dysfunctional behaviors coming from within the community into schools. Last week, we met with tribal council members and many community members at Oshkosh in Redby to discuss these behavioral issues and to brainstorm ways to improve behavioral culture and climate of our schools. And I appreciated that support from the tribal leaders and the community, because many of them did recognize that this issue comes at the community level. Kids come to us with their issues, they bring them to school, and then we have to work through them in school. Another meeting is hopefully scheduled to take place at the secondary complex here next week or the week after. We're still waiting to hear on the timing for that. I will say that this week has been quieter, which is unusual for a short week. Usually short weeks are kind of like, oh, it's a break, it's a short week, and kids start to kind of get excited and antsy, but and That's not happening this week. We still have some issues, but some of the more severe ones have quieted down now. So we're getting a handle on some of these issues. I attended the National American Indian Education Conference in Oklahoma City 2 weeks ago. Jack was also there, so were our culturists here in the district. Other attendees, as I said, were Dr. Gnu Gishek, Sharon Kingbird, Robert May, and Jack Desjardins. Also, County Commissioner Tim Sumner was in attendance. While at the conference, we attended a number of powerful and interesting breakout sessions. Several sessions that I attended provided me with ideas and insights about strategies and programs that we may be able to bring into our schools and utilize to improve teaching and learning, as well as student engagement, attendance, and graduation rates. I hope to have future updates for you regarding some of those ideas and initiatives in the future. Moving on, or maybe I should check with you, any questions about what's going on, Mr. Chair? Maybe now's a good time if you want, we can talk about.
I was just wondering how they're
Yeah.
doing and everything.
Yep, and it's sometimes it's a matter of weeding out some of the issues. Sometimes it's a matter of really addressing and meeting with these students and doing some restorative practices. But in terms of the more physical things that were occurring, this week seems to be calmer. Towards the end of last week seemed to be a little calmer, but we're still dealing with a lot of insubordination, a lot of students coming to class tardy, a lot of students using nasty language, and a lot of students wanting to wander the hallways. And I had a Zoom meeting today. We're going to meet every 2 weeks with 3 other superintendents from 3 other highly impact aid related school districts who are all experiencing the same things. And we're trading ideas and suggestions and working on innovative ways to address these issues. And tomorrow, I'll have a meeting with our 2 principals here at the secondary complex and our 2 deans. And we'll be, Justin will be there too. We'll be discussing more about how we can streamline communications and get a handle on being more proactive with some of these issues.
Right.
And I appreciate this opportunity because this is the day when there's no school. The principals normally would be off, but they're willing to come in, so are the deans to work out with issues. So hopefully that will get us some more ideas that we can begin to implement to support teachers and paraprofessionals and everyone else who works with kids. So, yeah. All right, facilities director report. We've been working with WSN Architects and Martin Mechanical on a design to replace the 1950 steam boiler at the secondary school. Martin Mechanical is currently working on specs and project scope to bid November 22, so next month, pending board approval on December 21st meeting. Project is projected for fiscal year 24, next year. The exterior LED signage is in place at East Complex. You may have seen the ones around here, at least this one.
Looks good.
It looks good. Okay. The Playground Committee visited sites in Grand Forks as part of the playground procurement process. Final design will be available by the November board meeting. The district HVAC control project is ongoing and will be substantially completed next, well, by today or tomorrow. Today is the deadline, so we'll see if they're there. Tyler May will be installing 1- and 2-year air-cooled boiler kits and upgrades into the 12 district boilers. Process we used to outsource. Now we do it in-house, saving the district a lot of money. And the snow removal team for this winter was assembled and trained on October 11th. Moving on to the technology board. They've closed over 15,000 help desk tickets as of October 12th. 700 or so of those since the beginning of this school year. The new digital signs are installed, as you heard. Well, actually, I think that's referring to these signs here, but that one there. And that one is, I believe, configured. But the rest of them, some of them are still waiting to be configured with the right graphics on them. Red Lake Schools is in compliance with the new Data Privacy Act. And if you were on your electronic version of the board book, you could click on that link and see what we're doing there. But it's just a matter of notifying parents about our data privacy.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Simplex used to have the signage, clocks and stuff like this. Who is this for? Or made by or manufactured?
Trying to remember the name of the sign company and the sign, but they call Ever Alert.
But it's not Simplex?
Nope, I don't believe it is, but the program is called Ever Alert. But, and it could be Simplex actually, I just don't know for sure.
Oh, okay.
I haven't heard that name when we discuss it. But, the Ever Alert system, so I don't know if that's the name of the company or if that's the name of the, communication software that goes in.
Okay.
Yeah, but it is similar, I think, to what Simplex does, so it could be them.
Yeah.
Okay, Director of Special Services Board report, and then, a little bit later, we'll probably have, Dr. Hinckley give another presentation, I believe, on, something else coming up, and that's, we'll see that a little later in the agenda. But he's here if you have any questions about his report. First item is special program staffing with the addition of a number of high needs students across the district and resignation of a special ed teacher at the elementary. We're once again struggling to stretch our services to meet all of our students' needs. Dr. Hinckley has been in contact with a few individuals who may be interested in special ed teaching positions. If they come through with applications and if they seem to be a good fit, we would ask that the board consider a special board meeting to get them on staff as soon as possible. We'll note the closure and addition of some special program positions being recommended at this month's board meeting. This is to help us align our positions to our students' current needs and best clarify the roles of the staff we hope to hire based on the new open positions. These positions will support a broader vision for additional programming necessary, given some of the significant behavioral and mental health concerns we have seen in our students as they return to school, especially here in this building. The two positions that we're recommending for closure are two positions we cannot fill. They've been vacant for a long time. So we believe we can find, with the creation of these other positions, someone to fill them. You'll see that later in the agenda. Next item, ABSIS Title IV-A, Achievement and Integration and Other Grants and Funding Sources. Dr. Hinckley wrote and was able to secure a staff wellness grant that will fund activities designed to help support our staff's physical and mental health. Because staff these days are really struggling with the difficulties in school. The activities will be developed by the Wellness Committee and will be primarily implemented in the second half of the school year with a few of the smaller projects starting before winter break. Activities will include staff wellness evenings in the spring. School board members are welcome to attend. More information will be shared when our plans are solidified. So I want to publicly thank Dr. Hinckley for his work on that and other grants that he has put together. Teacher licensing with the late hires in August and beyond. We currently have 2 teachers for whom we're awaiting licensure. While they're on staff and in their teaching roles, we have licensed teachers overseeing all of their work, that we're in compliance with all rules and regulations there. Under World's Best Workforce, Dr. Hinckley will be providing a brief overview of the current World's Best Workforce plan at this meeting later, and that's the other item I was mentioning that we'll be addressing in this agenda. Moving on to Dr. Gizik's report. 5 items. First one is the IPAC committee. We held an IPAC committee, and I was there, was able to introduce myself to the members of the committee. The IPAC members approved the American Indian Education Aid application. Dustin Hinckley presented the World's Best Workforce Plan. Stephanie Amber presented growth in Ojibwe language and culture integration. Dr. Ginu Gizik presented on the Ojibwe language and culture cohort classroom modifications. The next item, Ojibwe Language and Culture Integration Committee held and had a meeting where discussions on cohort classroom modifications were held. The committee is asking for a maximum of 2 board members to join these quarterly meetings, so you'll get invitations for that. It's good to be in the know about what's going on there.
When do they,
Yeah.
when do they have your meetings?
The OLC meetings, they're quarterly. Got the exact days, but I can send them on to you then.
Okay.
I put them on your, we put them on your email, sent one out to your Red Lake school site email.
Oh, okay.
And, we can't have more, we can only have 2 board members on there. Because otherwise 3 is the illegal meeting.
What?
So, anyway, and then-
Thank you. Moving on to culturists, Rob and Sharon have been doing ricing demonstrations at district school sites, and that's been really going well. And I've enjoyed watching a couple of those, and I've learned quite a bit about the old ways, cultural ways of ricing. As I mentioned earlier, Rob, Sharon, and Gnu attended the NIEA National Conference last week. And Dr. Gnu is continuing to work on grant work with Title IV and AIEA, American Indian Education Association grants. Now, we can move on to our principals reports. Over in Panema, where Aaron Jabs is principal, their current enrollment is at 132, holding steady. Their targeted services began on September 27th with 70 students enrolled. They run on Tuesdays and after school until 5:15. 6th through 8th grade students attended the ricing demonstration. They came over here to do that on September 30th. Feedback from staff and students was that it was very interesting. And those that were doing the demonstrations did a really nice job of being hands-on with students and explaining the process. K-5 students will have the same opportunity, weather permitting, in our week on the 27th. The 6th through 8th grade students attended the Character Challenge course in Park Rapids on October 5th. This is the second year we brought those students through this course for team building. The students had a great time. We continue to make this annual trip for those students each fall. Student pictures were October 13th. Our K-1 students will be attending today the Pumpkin Patch. And the Lions Club is coming to Panema on the 25th to conduct vision screening. On the next page, we are currently in the planning phase of the annual Halloween parade for the Panema School. The parade will begin at 2, and we'll work our way through the school and down to the gym. Parents and guardians take pictures and see students in their costumes. Always a really fun event. Now, the Red Lake Elementary Board report, Amanda Norman and Stephanie Amberg. We're continuing to focus on Ojibwe-Moan integration through the Red Lake Elementary Complex. Each K2 classroom has a weekly common Ojibwe-Moan morning meeting slide to support all students receiving the same cultural and instructional information each day. Also during morning meetings, students throughout the complex will be hearing and practicing the days of the week, month, season, and weather in Ojibwe-Moan. I was over there today and I saw a lot of signs, and it's always a good reminder when I stop over there and see that, it's that awareness of that kind of thing, that if kids are learning days of the week or month of the year, they're learning it not only in English, but in Ojibwe-Moan. So today is Abatuse, Wednesday. And we're reminded of that again today over there. Focus on primary PK2 updates for the 22-23 school year. We're concentrating on the Mindful Mantras book series. Our focal book for this month is I Can Handle It. First book of the series, teaching confidence and perseverance. Red Lake ECFE and K2 classes visited Fuller Farm. Each child that went received a pumpkin. On the 14th, the culture department led Manumani, I know the word, I say it all the time. Manumanikeowen. I massacred it there, but basically producing wild rice, ricing, demonstrations for students in grades PK2, and the Halloween Safety Magic Show program. We'll be visiting our building for grades PK2 on October 25th. Very important service to make sure kids are safe when they're out in the streets. The 3-5 focus, we had our first large group morning meeting since COVID. One always worries about how ready the 300 students are to be in a big group together, but they did a great job. So big wish to the grade 3 team for leading that. The week of October 10th, grades 3 through 5 students participated in a lake ceremony and the Menumanikawin, one more time, Menumanikawin, that's pronounced the E like an A, demonstrations. So Miigwech to Donovan May in the culture department. Finally, grades PK through 5, all the grades are planning a Halloween celebration for this coming next Friday, the 28th. That should be fun. And I plan to be there, see if I can steal candy and kids. And I do on Halloween. There's the, you see before you the attendance totals at Red Lake Elementary School and enrollment, I should say. And 571 on September 6th, 584 on September 13th. And as of the 11th, 612. So we're up again this year. So that's always a good sign to see. We're actually up 28 since a month ago. Moving on to the Red Lake Secondary Complex Board Report. Tracy Olson, Middle School Principal, Shelley Frederickson. The first item there are these 3 graphs for you to notice. Just an update on where our students are at in terms of the class of 23, the seniors, the graduating class. Across the whole district, that class, that cohort, we've had 18 students from last year who are no longer enrolled. They've gone elsewhere. Or 11% have enrolled out of the district. On track, we have 8% of our students with less than 7 1/4 credits. Some of them will be graduating at the end of the semester. We have 14% who need support with a few extra credits, and we're working on getting them some of that through online credit recovery and other work. And we have 49 students who need at least 10 credits remaining. And again, we're really working with those kids as well. Some of those kids, if they persevere, can do it. Now, if we look at just the standard Red Lake High School senior class, that does not include some of the students who would be in the ALC. We have more students. We have 36 students on track to graduate, 36% of the students on track to graduate. 46% need 10 credits or more. 18% need no more than 10%. So again, we have programs in place for them to help them get caught up on these credits if they work at it. The next graph is just ALC students. There we see that, as is typically the case with ALC, we have a lower number on track, 22%, but that's still not a bad number when compared to previous years. We have few students, 63% who need additional time, more than 10 credits remaining, and about 15% need up to 10 credits, 7 1/4, 10 credits to graduate. So we're working hard to make sure they're getting the support that they need, that they're staying on track. You see the enrollment there. Enrollment as of 10/6 was 636 students. And that's very close to where we were at this last month. We are down from last year, largely due to some of the moving outside of the district. But most of the students that we see in terms of lots of students, let's say the charter schools, the elementary group. So we're holding pretty solid up here in the secondary complex. Few other items, the Red Lake Secondary Complex College and Career Festival was this past Monday. I visited. It was a very big success. A lot of students enjoyed being there and meeting prospective employers and post-secondary institutions. Over 90 invites were sent to colleges and businesses to assist students in exploring career options after high school. First one we've done since the fall of 2019 because of COVID. ASVAB testing is being offered for 11th and 12th grade students next Thursday. ACT will be offered on Saturday, December 10th, and again Saturday, April 15th for 11th and 12th grade students. The district ACT will be offered for interested juniors in March during the school day.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The ones that are in ALC, are they required to take the ACT test?
Dustin, do you know the answer to that? Are ALC students, all of them required? I don't think they all are. I didn't take the ACT. It's,
100%, but I don't believe it.
it's offered, but many of them don't find interest in it. Okay, moving on to the, digital marketing coordinators report, Rebecca Swanson is continuing to work with Aptigee to launch the app called Rooms, which allows teachers to communicate with students and parents or guardians or grandparents. The most recent teacher training was a couple days ago in Panema. We're planning the next event with BSU students to promote jobs with the Red Lake School District. And we're doing a lot of work there to engage those students, and we're doing some mock interviews coming up. Dr. Hinckley will be part of that. We might be able to find some new teachers through that experience, and we're hopeful. We've already heard about the wild rice demonstration, but that was live streamed and shared to YouTube, so a lot of other people could see what was going on with that, which I find really, really kind of interesting when you use modern technology to teach old cultural traditions. It's a great marriage of the two, I think. Becca, through her Aptigee work, has been delivering messages to students and families in various situations, kind of like weather-related announcements, including the one where we had the issue with water shortage about a month ago. And Rebecca is partnering with the Ojibwe culturalists to film and photograph events to share on social media. So like water ceremonies, I've heard about the rising of water ceremonies and other activities. Very important to get them out to people who are engaged with what we're doing. And that's what this is all about, is engagement. You can see that social media pages continue to reach up to 3,500 people per page, with lots of engagement within the community. Lots of comments, sharing of posts, and all of our pages have increased in numbers of likes. Rebecca presented this or submitted this report last week, but she told me again today that when I put out a notice, usually on Fridays, not every week, but most weeks I do, when there's something to share, there are many positive comments for the transparency and shares that are those comments going out to other people. So I think that's very, very important that people stay connected to the happenings here in the district. So I appreciate all that Becca is doing to make us all more aware of the power of social media. And finally, Human Resource Coordinator Board report. Ashley Nelson. Item number 1, substitute pre-employment was conducted on October 10th for both licensed and non-licensed staff. He asked me to take out item number 2 there, so I'll skip that because that isn't happening quite yet. Item number 3, the Equal Employment Opportunity Report has opened and she started the process for completing that. And item number 4, she's working on STAR reporting for the October 2022 data collections. The STAR report is a web-based system used by school districts to report employment and assignment information to make sure we're truly working within our licensures and whatnot. This system is also used by districts to access the licensure assignment discrepancy report. Teaching positions, you can see, if you were to click on that, you'll see that we'll talk about various openings, but those are some openings that we still have. A special ed teacher, school cycle intern, science teacher, and an elementary teacher, long-term substitute. And we could use another bus driver. So Rob, please apply. So that wraps up that portion of the report. If you look at your agenda, this was the next part of the agenda. Moves into the world's best workforce by Dr. Hinckley, and then we were going to get to a Dream Navigator report, which instead we'll have Mrs. Ketterling give her report on the robotics stuff. So at this point, if we could have Dr. Hinckley come forward.
It's okay with the board if Danny could go first. Whatever she has going on.
Even better, thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I have a PowerPoint set up, but I did print it out, so, would you prefer paper or do you want to see it on the smart board?
Since you printed it out.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that might be safer than messing with.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So some of this might look familiar because Rebecca was able to post on Facebook our, a little travel journal that we did. So, I was able to take 4 students to Palm Springs, California for the ACES National Convention. And the front page, you notice the gentleman right in the middle kneeling down. His name is Matt Lucier, and he is our Apple contact who gave us our big grant and funded our trip. So he came and met with us, and he knows robotics, which was very cool. He's been a coach before, so he knows our program and he's knowledgeable about it.
Is that Lusher or Lucier?
He pronounced it Lucier, but it's spelled Lusher. So
Yeah,
where, from the
fancy
part of a country he comes from, that's the way he said it. 4 teams from northern Minnesota went with us. The Iron Range, we had the Iron Mosquitoes, and then 2 Cass Lake teams, and then our Red Lake Robotics. And we traveled the first day. Tuesday was our travel day. We got there. It was about midnight Minnesota time by the time we got to the hotel room and had something to eat. And we, all 4 of my students had never flown before. So, that was a little scary. I was hoping that they wouldn't jump off the plane or anything, but we made it, and they all decided they liked traveling that way. They were seasoned travelers by the time we got to the 3rd flight.
I should mention it was fun because when I was flying out to Oklahoma City, bumped into this group at the airport in Fargo. And then on our plane was the Cass Lake team. And I could tell that some of them had never flown before because they were pretty excited
Yeah,
looking out the window. So it was
Yeah.
a great opportunity.
it was a huge opportunity. Then if you look on our first group picture, we had 15 students and 6 adults with through all the 4 teams. And so we took a lot of group pictures. Then Wednesday was our STEM activity day. The conference held a STEM day just for high school students. And there were corporations and companies that set up little stations and booths. The Air Force was there. The I want to say NSA was there. They brought the Enigma machine that they did in World War when they broke the Japanese code. They had an Enigma machine there that they were showing the kids and had them trying to solve the puzzles. And it was they had lots of varied stations, and our kids were really lapping it up and doing the different things. Then on Thursday, we did a sightseeing day, and it was really hot. Palm Springs was 100 degrees every day we were there, and we were out there. We walked miles, and so it was we kept going to different places to get water and drinks, but we had a good time. And then we spent a lot of time in the pool when we got back to the hotel, and the air conditioning. And then we had the college and the career fair was our big focus on this trip. So we spent a lot of time. We had to get our area set up. You get an idea of the how big the room was. This room was huge. They had like a couple hundred booths in there from colleges and businesses and corporations and national government agencies, all people that had Native American professionals or were looking for Native Americans to hire for jobs. They were doing interviews right there. So there were college students that came to this. Our high school students were there. It was a really great experience for our kids to see examples of professionals and mentors and of the people that are Native American, and so that they could dream that way. And it was really, really a neat experience. And so we spent the day there. Apple had bought, leased, space at the career fair, and they gave it to us to play our robots on, to advertise our robots and the FIRST robotics program. So we had this huge space that we were able to set up with tables and advertise about FIRST and demonstrate our robots. And the kids got to, other people that came by and said, you know, we think you want to try it. And so then our kids would teach the kids how to run other people how to run the robots. And so we had a lot of communication skills going on. We were having to do a lot of networking, and it was really good for our students, especially some of our more shy ones. And then there's another group picture when we were at the career fair of our big group. We had these t-shirts made because we were so proud of getting to go to ACEN and the conference. So we all wore them to the career fair. Then we went over to Tesla. That was one of our, they did a little talk for us. And I didn't get to talk, Dwight took the kids, one of the other chaperones over, and Tesla, you know, talked to them about careers, jobs, cars. I'm not sure what they all talked about. And this was just some of the cool stuff that I tried to capture in pictures. And then Saturday was our last full day. We went and did a luncheon. They had ACES gives out lots of scholarships for the college students. So they had a luncheon and recognized those people that got scholarships. And we got to go along, and we did an activity called the ACES Adventure, Your Adventure Through Finance. And this session was so cool. It was sponsored by Wells Fargo. And it was the typical, you have a job, you have so much money, how are you going to pay all your bills each month? But it was resified. And really, yeah, because, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but it was relevant to our kids. You know, they had, if you went, like there was a health insurance station. If you lived on the reservation, you got IHS. So you didn't need to pay health insurance. And then we had chance cards at each station. You know, you'd go to buy a car, and then, you know, then you pay, and then you'd have to pick a chance card. And one of our kids said, I got a chance card that said I had to buy new tires right away. So there went $800. They had to pay for tires, like right off the bat. And I helped with a station, and we did personal toiletries, you know, toothpaste and toothbrush. And one of my chance cards was, you lost all your personal items used up too fast, you have to go buy more. So then you spent twice as much that month on personal items. And that's what happens in real life. Yeah. And I would love to do this with our kids. It was a really neat exercise to bring, you know, and one of my favorite stations was, they had like Trader Joe, this like a pawn shop. And if you got to you were going through these stations and you ran out of money, you had to go like trade your name tag or trade your shoe or something for a couple $100 so that you could go finish going around and making it through the month. And I thought that was pretty unique to represent that happens sometimes if you have to go and you run out of money at the end of the month. But it was a really cool experience. And then we went to the powwow that evening, and the kids really enjoyed seeing people from all the different tribes and hearing the music and something familiar but still a little different. And then we traveled home, and we had no trouble going to a minimum of trouble getting to California, but we had trouble getting home. We got to Chicago, and Phoenix, we got delayed an hour. And then we got to Chicago, and our flight was supposed to leave at 6:30 p.m. and we didn't get out till almost 11.
Oh.
So we didn't get into Fargo till after midnight. And then that brings us to Red Lake at 4 o'clock in the morning. So that
Sounds
Monday.
Sounds like you flew American Airlines.
Yeah, so, so that was the synopsis of our trip, but the what we learned page really, I think that says so much. Our kids learned to face new experiences and experiment and take chances. They had to communicate with each other, you know, adults and other students and strangers. And we had to learn to stay with our group. You couldn't go off on your own. You know, and some of our students are a little independent. They are not used to having to check in with others. And so that was good for them. And we had to be responsible for group expectations. So if Ketterling said, we're leaving at 8 o'clock, you've got a backwards plan to make sure you get breakfast. Otherwise you're going without, you know. So that was a learning curve for a couple of kids one day. And we tried new foods. And we got to order online. One night we came back and we didn't want to go anywhere. So we ordered online and the food came to our hotel room. That was so cool. And we got to network with Native professionals and talk to colleges, major corporations and businesses. They had to share their thoughts, their ideas and their plans. And I feel that they dream about a future more now. So I want to thank you for letting us take the kids. Even though it didn't cost you very much, less than it was going to. One other thing, next week, our robot gets to travel just a little ways. We're going down to Alexandria for our Northern Minnesota Robotics Conference. You might have seen it on Paul Bunyan. They've been advertising the competition. And we're one of those teams that gets to go down there. We're gonna play for the championship on Friday. And then we're playing an open competition on Saturday. And so if you're down in Alexandria, stop in at the high school. It doesn't cost anything to get in. There will be, it will be on Twitch and there's going to be a live webcast. So this is just the program that kind of shows you the teams that are going to be there and stuff. Any questions?
Just want to thank you for the grant that you wrote and procured for this kind of a trip and for this, what you're doing, creating this wonderful opportunity for kids to experience and explore their futures. It's amazing.
Yeah, keep spreading the word. We're looking for more students. Going to this event is really once they get to play in a competition, then I have them hooked. So the more I can get to go to this event, because they don't really understand what it's like to do an event until we get to there in April. And then they say, I wish I would have done this sooner. Whereas if I can get them to go with me in October, they go and oh yeah, we got to do this. How are we going to build that robot this year? When do we get to do that, Ketterling? Where are we going? Where are we going next? And it builds excitement. So I would love to take a group of 10 or 12 kids down there and get them hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, by all means.
These are great pictures, great photos, and really capture the experience.
Thanks.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you know where next year's will be?
The
Yeah.
ACES is in Spokane and it happens to be over MEA weekend. So we would, if we get to go next year,
all of us then or what?
talk to your superintendent.
Yeah, you want to get, it's not Seattle, so it might not be raining, so.
It's
maybe
Spokane, and it's over MEA. So if I take the kids, we miss less school. That's
Yeah.
right. This way we had to we missed 4 days of school.
Very
But
nice.
if it's over MEA, then I'm only missing maybe 1 day or 2 days of school. So we're kind of hoping we can get asked again.
So who took this great picture on page 3 at the airport? You guys.
Which one?
This is a really good picture.
Oh, Mr. Lutz, that was you.
Oh, that's right.
So I should have put photograph. Mr. Lutz.
Credit where it's
You didn't get your credit, your friends. Now I publicly, yes, thank you for taking our
Well, I
picture.
make sure I use an Apple phone too for that picture, which is in keeping.
And
with the
keeping in the way. Oh, since you still have me talking, and poor Mr. Hinckley wants to, we found out, I got a mysterious email from Apple that said, can you send me your shipping address? Because we want to send you something. And Matt at the conference said that we're getting an Apple MacBook, one of the really nice ones for our team. And so we'll probably use it to work on, there's a chairman's award we can apply for where you want to make a video and do represent what we've done with our team all this year. And so that's probably what our use will be of it, because I don't know how well it would mesh for being our driver's station. And we already have a driver's station, but we'd like to use that. So we're gonna get a MacBook.
That's excellent.
So yeah, so that'll be fun. All right, thanks,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
There's a school board budget, and if you wanna go to Spokane, so just run by the rest of us.
Why can't I just ride at you? We'll drive, you drive halfway and I'll take that. Come on, Roy.
Civil Cup 94.
Yeah, there you go.
Could just drive the robot there. All hop on. If that's the case, we gotta start January 1st on the drive.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so Tracy isn't gonna be presenting anything, right?
right.
Okay.
That was in lieu of Tracy, and
Okay,
now we have Dr. Hinckley if he's ready to go. So,
I am. It's all right with you. I'm gonna sit while I present just because I'm gonna use this laptop and is at a weird angle for me to be able to see it unless I'm sitting down. So World's Best Workforce is an annual report that we write at the behest of the Minnesota Department of Education. Every school district is required to have a World's Best Workforce plan. And there are 5 goal areas related to different aspects of student outcomes. And so you've heard me present about World's Best Workforce before. This is probably my 3rd or 4th year presenting to you on it. But this year we've switched to using something called a live binder to keep track of all of the information. So that's what I'm sharing on the screen right now is the live binder. So as you probably remember, World's Best Workforce has a parent advisory committee requirement. We use the APAC as our parent advisory committee for multiple different reasons. And they are the advisory committee for our World's Best Workforce, which is why you heard in the report earlier that it was presenting to them so that they could provide input. One of the requirements within World's Best Workforce is that we need to consider how we are ensuring that our students have excellent and diverse educators. And so we talk a little bit about the level of experience that our teachers have, and we talk about what an effective teacher looks like. Right now, the measure that we use is similar to what a lot of districts are using, which is the percentage of teachers who are not on a formal teacher improvement plan. We're not sure that's a great metric, but it's the metric that we have. And so we're working on brainstorming other ways to define excellence in what our teachers are doing.
Okay, quick question.
Yeah.
How would you be able to get on a better improvement plan for the teachers? Since we'll, versus masters and just regular teachers and stuff like that. I know we got some master teachers.
We do.
Yeah.
Yep. So the teacher improvement plan is one process that we have within the teacher development and evaluation area where we can work individually with a teacher on a specific skill deficiency. So if a teacher is struggling with behavior management, for example, and we've worked on trying to help that person improve and it's just not improving the way we need it to, then the principal or the direct supervisor can work on a specific improvement plan around behavior management. And the reason we don't really like this metric is because just because you are struggling or have a skill deficit in one area doesn't mean that you're not an excellent teacher, right? It just means that you've got an area that we need to work on. But on the other end of that, just because you don't have a teacher improvement plan also doesn't mean that you're an excellent teacher, right? So we're trying to figure out a different way to measure for that in particular piece. But you'd think it would be much easier to define excellence in teaching than it actually is. To get it down to how do you measure that and say, yes, you are an excellent teacher versus no, you're not an excellent teacher. That's a challenging conversation. So we also take a look at the number of teachers who have licenses in areas that are not the area where they're teaching. So sometimes we have people on a variance called an out of field permission. Sometimes they're on a tier 1 license, which is the lowest tier of licensure. You have the least education and experience on that license. And we have to make sure that we aren't pooling all of those teachers so that they're working with the same group of students. We have to try and make sure that kids are having access to excellent teachers. And the likelihood that you're an excellent teacher if you're teaching out of field or if you're teaching on the tier 1 license is lower than if you're teaching in your licensure field or on a higher tiered license. So we try and make sure, for example, that not every 9th grade teacher is teaching out of field, so that it's not just 9th graders that are having that experience. We try and vary that. So the goal areas specifically for World's Best Workforce are related to having kids be ready for school, read well by 3rd grade, close the achievement gap, be college and career ready, and graduate. So for each of those 5 goal areas, we have a tab in our live binder that lists some of the strategies that we're using to get us moving toward that goal. So for example, under all children are ready for school, we talk about what is kindergarten readiness, what makes a student ready for school. We talk about the parents as teachers group that we have that is working with especially our teen parents. We talk about the early childhood family education classes and events that we're offering throughout the school year. Those are offered every Monday. And we've been having really good turnout. We developed a new space at the Early Childhood Center. We turned a classroom into the ECFE room. So now they have a place to go when they come into the Early Childhood Center. And we get dozens of participants with their little kids that are coming in to learn about different activities they can do. They learn about some child development sorts of things. And then they can split off and they do a little parent class and then a little student class at the same time, all kinds of different activities. And then also through ECFE, we go on developmentally appropriate field trips. So the families can go to places like the pumpkin patch, or sometimes they go to the movie theater, that sort of thing. So you can see we list out the different strategies that we're using, and then we talk about the objectives that we have. Because going from where we currently are to 100% of our kids being ready for kindergarten is a leap, right? We have a gap there. And so we're trying to incrementally move towards that 100%. And right now we're using the Begindergarten assessment that we do when kids first come into school to measure their readiness for school. And so we're hoping to increase that average score or the composite score by a couple of points per year. And that would bring us closer and closer to developmentally being 5 years old and ready for kindergarten when they come to us for the first time. So that's to use the right scroll bar. There we go. That's our all children are ready for school goal. The read well by 3rd grade and the closing the achievement gap goals are very similar because as you know, we are implementing the Read Write Primary Core Curriculum at the elementary levels. We started with the core curriculum last year and teachers are really in the groove right away this year with that core curriculum. So the Read Well by 3rd grade goal is related to getting our kindergarten through 3rd graders reading at grade level. And then our closing the achievement gap goal is getting our 4th and 5th graders reading at grade level. And if we have a large percentage of students coming into the secondary complex reading at grade level, that will be a significant difference than what we've had in the past. And right now, we believe, based on all of the data that we're seeing, that we're on track to have between 80 and 90% of our students reading as excellent readers when they come into 6th grade. And if that happens, the number of doors that can open for those students as they're accessing the different content areas in 6th through 12th grade is going to make big changes for those students in their educational lives. So that's the Read Well by 3rd grade and closing the achievement gap goals. The college and career ready goal was related to curriculum for a 9th grade careers course called Dream Navigator, which is actually what Tracy and Gijig were going to present on today. So that's one of the objectives that we have. That Dream Navigator curriculum was originally going to be built into the 9th grade careers course, but because some scheduling things had to change at the beginning of the year, that careers course is not moving forward as planned for this year. So we're working on making sure that that course gets developed and can be offered for the next year for our freshmen. And then Dream Navigator, I believe, is going to be implemented in a different way this school year. But when Tracy and Gnu get to present on that, they'll be able to give more details about it.
Next month, hopefully.
And then our 5th and final World's Best Workforce goal is related to all students graduating from high school. And one of the things that I pointed out to the APAC is that a lot of our goals in the past have been very student-based, like trying to increase student MCA scores, right? Well, students don't just randomly increase their MCA scores in a vacuum, right? That there's a lot of adult work that goes into having kids increase their MCA scores. So a number of our objectives are actually related more towards the adults in the system than they are towards the students at this point. And having students graduate from high school is kind of an all-encompassing, all the way from preschool to the time they graduate with us. So we're focusing on the use of implementation science as a basis for managing all of the different changes that we're trying to utilize in the district. So the first objective under graduating from high school was related to principals being familiar with and completing what's called a model for managing complex change tool that helps us keep track of all of the initiatives that we're doing and really focuses us in on, do we have all of the resources we need? Do we have all of the skills that we need to make sure this initiative is successful? One of the things you'll hear if you go out and talk with teachers in the district is that there is a level of initiative fatigue here, whereby we've tried this, we did it for 2 years, and then it went away. And now we're trying this and tried that for 2 years, and then that went away. But some people are still doing some of the things from the first thing and some of the things from the second thing. And we really need to hone in on and focus on the things we think are really important to making the changes that we're looking to make. And so that's where using this model for managing complex change, which is part of implementation science, is going to hopefully get us within better alignment from the district to each of the individual buildings and help us move forward with those initiatives within the strategic plan. And then the other objective this year is to continue to train the elementary ed teachers on the use of guaranteed and viable curriculum, because that is preparing us to be able to train in standards-based instruction and grading, which is the ultimate goal for the district, is to utilize standards as the basis for whether students are mastering their classes versus things that really don't have anything to do with mastering a class, like attendance or whether you smile a lot in class or whatever else you might get extra credit points for in a given class. Those things don't actually tell me that you know how to do math or social studies, or right? So we're looking at moving towards standards-based as much as possible. So those are the 5 World's Best Workforce goals and the current strategies and objectives that we have. There will be a summary report on this, on each of these goals next fall, when after the school year's over, we can measure all of the things that we did and see where we fell in terms of meeting those objectives or not. We are choosing to do a really pared down summary report from last year's World's Best Workforce Plan because all of the baseline data we had to be re-looked at. Because of COVID, everything went all wonky. And so the measurements weren't really very accurate for us to make decisions from the last couple of years. So I went through that really quickly, but it's also not the prettiest thing to look at for a long time. It's kind of report format. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to try and address those for you.
Okay, what about teachers who are hesitant to change?
Yeah, so I think everyone at some level is hesitant to change, right? Because change means unknown, and unknown can be scary. So we definitely work really hard anytime we implement a new initiative to build buy-in among the staff before we really get going. And we do that in a number of ways, trying to make sure we communicate the reason why. Why is it important that we're going to engage in this initiative? We try to address any discomfort that people might have. I think the read-write implementation is a great example of this. Read-write is a totally different way of teaching reading than anyone has ever done in this district before. So there was some discomfort. There are teachers who have been teaching reading for a long time, and now I have to change the way that I'm doing this. So we brought in the person who actually developed the read-write program, and she presented on the research that she had done and why this will work for our kids. We talked about it many months in advance of ever actually starting the training. And then we made sure that the training was going to be high quality. And with read-write, it is. They sit right next to you and provide you instruction individually in how to teach their program. And so, you know, it's about relationships and trust as well. If the teachers who are asked to engage in an initiative trust that you've got a good plan and are working well towards it together, there's much less resistance. But there are always going to be people who are struggling to change, and then we work with them to try and move forward as best we can.
Is there a way through technology to monitor teachers who are successful with their kid reading, and those who are not, as they go through this school year? You know what I mean?
So I think what you're asking, is there a way for us to know whether individual teachers are having better or worse student outcomes in terms of reading? And there are ways to do that. Right now, we choose not to look at it as an individual teacher issue, but more as a systems issue. And because the training is so intensive for every teacher, and the expectation is that everyone is doing this with fidelity, we're focusing more on fidelity checks. So what that means is we trained a trainer. Mr. Eklund is now a trainer in the read-write program. And one of his duties is to go into each of the elementary classrooms on a routine but not scheduled basis. So I'm not going to tell you when I'm coming to your classroom. I'm just going to pop in and see how things are going. And he'll have a little checklist to say, yep, Roy was teaching exactly the way that he was trained to teach, or nope, we need to work on making sure he does this part with fidelity, the way that it's designed to do.
See, where I'm going with this is I had a workshop where they actually did that, and they concentrated on bringing teachers up level. Where maybe this teacher here didn't need that.
Yep.
And this one did.
Yep. And instead of using any student outcome data, because that is not as reliable, we're using the fidelity check system. So we're doing very similar thing, but we're not pinning it on the teacher as an issue for the teacher. We're pinning it on, have we trained you well enough? Or do we need to come back and do some supplemental training with you to make sure that you're doing everything the way you were trained to do it? And I feel like that's from a relationship standpoint with teachers, I think that's a better way to go about it. It's a much different feel if I say, you know what, Rob, your kids are not performing the way they're supposed to, versus, you know what, Rob, it looks to me like you need me to come in and look at this particular way of teaching a little bit differently. It's a matter of coaching versus feeling like you're being disciplined, I think.
That works a
Well,
lot
we'll have to
better.
wait for, till next year.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see how the fidelity checks went, because that is one of the objectives.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Justin.
Absolutely. I'll get you back to your camera here.
Okay.
By the way, it'd be nice if there was a larger screen, kind of hard to read. So
Yeah.
This-
yeah.
The one thing I couldn't figure out is how to make the live binder text bigger for you, so I apologize for that.
Get one for the whole ceiling. Real big. We can go out to the football field in my office. Put on the scoreboard. All right, monthly enrollment. Board, if you want to go to page 18 in the board book. Little update for you on our, enrollment numbers here. This is the entire district. You'll see how we compare, in early October, all the way back to 2018. In October of 18, we had 1,415 students. And then the next year, 1,439. The next year, 2020, we jumped up 1,547. 2021, we were up 1,511. And then as of today, 1,455. So we're down a little bit. And that's again, COVID losses and also the charter school opening with 70 some students in their enrollment, I believe. And we're still solid. We're still better than we were in 2018 or 2019, but it's a process of rebuilding, but we're still doing okay. Then if you throw in the 3 and 4-year-old program in Benema and Red Lake, we are at, as of last week, 1,521 students. So it's always a struggle with enrollment because we compete with a lot of other online programs and charter schools and private schools. We're doing okay. We just have to watch our budget a little more tightly when we lose students. Moving on to the business managers report. Willie has a fairly detailed bulletin item there. And that's in on board book page 36. You can see that 7 items he's got. We held bi-weekly check-ins with the security coordinator, food service, transportation, building and grounds, and digital media, and human resources coordinator. A reminder that the general election is November 8th. Absentee voting began September 23rd. So therefore, we'll be canvassing the November 8th general election results at our regular board meeting, which is inside the window for canvassing. So they'll be able to take care of the canvassing that needs to be done, and certificates of election will be provided to the top 4 candidates within 7 days after the results are canvassed. Another note is that the truth in taxation hearing is set for Monday, December 5th at 6 o'clock in this office. Brady Mart's auditors continue to work on the audit. They have to have it completed by November 30th, about a month away, month and a half, and then provide copies to the Minnesota Department of Education and the state auditor's office and the federal audit clearinghouse prior to the end of the year. The district received $29,387 in food service supply chain assistance funds for this year. These funds can be used to purchase whole foods and milk. In fiscal year 22, the district received $28,487. So we're getting about $900 more in these funds. And finally, the annual assurance of compliance with federal and state law regarding discrimination in the use of funding. The district has informed all mandated reporters of their duties has been filed. Then you have the financial report, and within that financial report is a reflection that we spent in wires and checks just shy of $2.6 million this past month. If you look at item 6C on the agenda, we've already had that report that was built into my report where Dr. Vinu Gijic discussed the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee update. So now that wraps up our reports and we're ready for the consent agenda. And one thing I want to point out on the consent agenda, I did mention in my report that came from Dr. Hinckley that we have these two positions that we're closing because we can't fill them. And then we're hoping to open up two new positions or make them no longer dormant, add them back. And those are items 7K and L, the ones that we're closing. And we're hoping to open and post 2 FTEs for general ed paraprofessional. And then open and post 2 FTEs for school social worker and mental health professional positions. So it's 7N are the 2 new positions that we're hoping to fill after closing the 2 other positions related to counselors. I should also mention that in the agenda, consent agenda, we are approving 2 new clubs, or actually 1 new club, and that's the esports club, which I talked about last month. And then we're also re-upping for another year the Ojibwe Knowledge Bowl, which I think is a really important and worthwhile activity for our kids. So I present to you the consent agenda for your approval.
What is, let's see here. M, for, whereabouts are these positions gonna be? Fair questions.
Oh, letter N?
Yeah.
Or no, M, sorry.
Yeah.
Those are,
Paraprofessional.
yep, and they're for general, general ed. And, those are basically, I believe, I should know this, but they're for, of course, not for students on IEPs, but for general classroom supports. But I can't pinpoint or recall exactly where they're at, so I can,
Yeah, in the high school or what?
oh, yes, I believe that's the case.
And then, what is this, Celius School Administrator?
Yeah, and that has to do with, I mentioned earlier about many of our students not quite yet on track with credits. The Acellus is actually an online program that is for credit recovery. So our academic dean is going to training in order to learn how to utilize that program and that curriculum to help students catch up their credits so they can graduate.
Did she already leave?
That was my question about it. Today.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's
She
one of
left
those,
today.
and that's one of those situations very similar to hiring staff members. Sometimes we have to take action without calling a special meeting, and the bylaws and the policy does allow us to do that, and then we do it after the fact and ask for your approval, just to make it official. So,
Two deer.
yep. And it's
What is that? What is that?
it's training on the online credit recovery. So students can take online classes to catch up on their credits when they're coming short and risking graduating, so they don't even graduate. So,
Down in Kansas City?
yep, and probably rotates different places, but this year it's there. And she probably won't have to go next year because it'll be something she's got.
Trained on it?
Yep. We'll see, unless they throw something new out at us, so. So that's that. That's the consent agenda for you.
Yeah, I have questions on consent. Now I'll need a motion to approve or disapprove.
I'll move.
A motion by Nelson to approve.
Yeah.
Second, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Nelson to approve. For a second. Second by Tyke. Further discussion on the consent agenda. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0.
Thank you. Last item, then we can all go and say goodbye to the kids, you know, board buses.
Okay, where are we at here now? Okay, we don't need it closed.
Believe it or not, I only had one question.
I do, I got a few on bills there.
That was why is there a blank for the first 24 pages?
Blank?
Do it, wire, no check numbers.
That's because those are wires.
Yeah, wire transfer.
Yep, and that's how that works. So, yep.
And then, yeah, I didn't have any others.
I had one well, a couple of them on Verizon Wireless here. It has, what's an adjustment? $49, an adjustment. Doesn't say anything, just
Where are you at?
adjustment. It's, what is that? 21, 22, 62.
And I think that's relatively typical when we end up with additional, you might have an additional added phone line or, we have unlimited, so it might be some service that came in.
Okay, I never saw it before.
Okay, the parentheses mean minus,
Huh?
the parentheses mean minus.
Yep.
No, it's
So
just almost
sometimes
what
it's,
that's,
sometimes if it's, it could be a credit, exactly.
Mike,
No,
did
so
you
it's a
get
credit.
an extra phone? You got?
Not yet. And the second question I had, I see on here was, who's Blake Deerkishing?
Turkish.
Cause his is $536.
I believe that's one of the contractor workers, but I'm not absolutely sure. So
How
I
come
can-
he has a big phone bill over $500? I mean, why are we paying for his phone bill?
Oh, that's the phone bill, okay, never mind. Yeah.
His name, Blake?
Blake Dirkishing, yeah. Check with Willie,
I mean, who is that? I mean, who is he?
when I heard
He's a
Dirkishing, I thought,
full-time employee, ain't
Huh?
he? Doesn't he work for, Kenny and him?
I thought so, yeah.
He's one of
Oh,
them.
that's that Blake, yeah, he's our
Yeah,
tech
ain't
guy.
is that it?
That's Blake, yeah.
How come he
He's
has
our
such
tech guy,
Huh?
The tech guy at the
Yep.
elementary, right?
yep.
Who is he? How come he has
Yep.
such a big phone bill? That's what I'm curious about. Why? I mean, that's like 10, 11 times more than anybody else is on here.
Good chance he's been on. And it may have been not a cell phone bill, but a regular bill, you know? And, a lot of these tech guys spend a lot of time on the phone working on things, so.
Well,
Sure,
the main tech guy isn't that high on here. It's like maybe $10, $20 more.
He does a
You know,
lot of the
it-
work at the
You know,
elementary.
500 and.
He does a lot of work at the elementary.
$536. I mean, that's, to me, that's quite a,
Yeah, I misunderstood the name there when you said.
and then why are we still paying for Mindy Crowley's phone on here?
I'll run that by Willie, both those questions to double check and have the answer to this.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's
missed
we
that.
pay her bills.
Speaking of, can that, answering machine be changed?
Yeah.
So Mindy and their answering.
On whose answering machine?
Oh, yeah,
The
she's
whole
still,
system when you press,
Oh, really?
to speak to.
yeah,
her.
she's still on there.
See, I
So
never-
yours should be on there.
Yeah.
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 The voice has gotten lower. I've never called that, so I didn't notice that. And, so I'm glad you did notice that. You know, I
Yeah, I
changed my,
noticed that before too. I thought maybe they just hadn't changed it.
yeah, when I got here, I changed my own office phone message, but, I didn't know there was another one to change, so I'll get on that too.
Yeah, you'll have to change it.
Yep.
This is phone. I lost that phone a long time ago. I told him I lost it. I ain't got it.
Yeah,
But we're still.
All right.
For it.
we'll get that taken care of and I'll find out about Blake and Mindy.
Yeah,
And
you
and
can.
then I see another one here, what is this, 2304, advance. What's an advance? Who's getting advances here?
And what's the amount?
What is it, $850?
2304?
Sometimes if they miss them on payroll, they call
Yep.
it.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm finding.
Also, but, you know, the way they have it on like an advance,
Yeah,
there's
it's
not
not
supposed to be any advances.
No, it's nothing.
Okay, okay,
Oh,
Jerry knows, Jerry knows.
that is my check. Oh.
And
Look at
then,
that man.
the last one I had was, what is enable my child? I mean, there's a lot of like 7,777,000, 11,000. What is enable my child? I'm just curious.
Yep, those are programs, again, related to learning, and growing, but I can come up with some more specifics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems
More
like it's
detail.
quite a money. That's like
Yeah,
$70,000, $80,000 there.
no, that's
What is that? What
good that
is
you're
enable-
asking, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That was all I had on the bills.
Only $100,000 worth, okay.
Yeah.
We'll get answers for you. That's that.
We'll need a motion. I mean, unless anybody else has any more questions, we'll need a.
I got a question. Did we already do approvals for that, and one is in Vegas and and
NIA?
the one in Vegas?
Nissan.
Yeah, did we already do approval
I
for that?
thought it was like the last.
Yep.
Okay,
Exactly, last
let's
meeting.
just, we'll get to that here in miscellaneous. Let's do this one here first and then we'll,
Oh, I thought that's what you were talking about.
yeah, but no, well,
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
okay, got a motion by Nelson to approve,
I'll second.
second by Pemberton. Let's see, approve list of bills for a little over 2.5 million. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Zero. Okay, miscellaneous. Now, Rob, what did you, about the?
Yeah, the NISA.
Yep, we approved that last month, so. Oh, yeah.
Jerry, he was added, was he? Rob,
Was that Ed?
did you add him, Jerry?
Only one I generally go to all the time.
No, we just have Barb, Doug and Mike.
You can go to my place there. I probably won't be able to go anyway.
Just go.
I can't even make my own reservation. I couldn't make it.
Oh, no, I gotta help Mike, I gotta help Jack with his. Just let me know when you're ready and then I'll.
This is when now, in December?
Yeah.
If you go, we'll give you an advance of $800.
No, I'll go,
Oh.
A little more than that.
So can I get that added onto the next board meeting? To go?
Okay, let's just put it on this one, right?
Yep, we can add it to
Yeah.
this one.
Okay. What's the
Yeah, 'cause
request?
I thought we did, I thought sure.
Yeah, I thought we said Rob.
No.
Maybe Jack was bringing that, remember? Said-
Yeah. So we could just add it,
Yeah.
it's no big deal. This is what, in December anyway, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I was just thinking doing it at the next meeting so that it's prior to the travel.
yeah.
I just don't wanna get us in trouble with that. But other than that,
Any other miscellaneous?
oh, quick question. So like I've been getting reports from parents and actually witnessed it too. One of our school resource officers is kind of a little bit too aggressive with these students out in the halls. I did bring that up though before.
I had emailed you
that's-
something too, didn't I? Yeah.
So that's something that, you know, I just want to make everybody aware of, maybe start stopping in the schools.
Yeah,
Because I witnessed it and just, you know, made the suggestion, you know, I was a school resource officer. And sometimes you do need to speak up a little bit,
Yeah.
but not in the presence of these students and staff members out in the hall.
there are ways to kind of de-escalate. things.
Yeah,
So,
either that's go to the office or something, somewhere else, but not in,
Yeah,
right there in the halls.
he's doing some
Are we
training.
gonna get another officer?
That's the plan, hoping when they figure out who is no longer acting director and acting captain, then.
Yeah.
They'll find-
Oh.
They don't have a director.
Oh, they don't have a director yet?
Just an acting and then make.
They got an acting director now?
Yep.
There you go, Rob. Good job
Yep.
for you.
Been there, done that.
Right.
But yeah,
No, the director over at law enforcement.
No, they wouldn't like me. Wouldn't like.
Come on, Rob.
Well, if there's nothing else, then we motion to adjourn, then I guess.
Oh, do we, okay, so here's another question that got brought to my attention too. What are we doing as far as I know we were discussing about the eligibility requirements for sports. Because we remember last year we changed it
Yeah.
to passing. And, for some reason, they're trying to change it back to that 2.0 GPA. And I thought we were gonna, no, it was 2.
We
But I
never
thought-
changed it.
I thought yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. We never
Yeah,
changed
we
it
never
back.
It would have to go through you, so far there's nothing in the works.
So I
Yeah, it was just
thought we
passing.
relaxed it just one.
Yeah, we just passing, right? I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
realized
Yeah.
it.
And that's-
Since it was a 2.0,
And that's still the way it is.
as the rest of the, schools in the state. 'Cause right now, I just wanna get that clarified before we start getting hit with everything when basketball season starts. But that's all I have.
I just got one thing about food. Our students are asking about, they get enough food at the high school, middle school,
Yeah.
is that getting taken care of?
Last week, there were a couple of days when it was kind of tight. to
Yeah,
get that
but-
fixed. We had 2 staff members who were out sick or injured,
Oh, all right.
cooks, and, they were scrambling, but that's been repaired now. That's been fixed.
That's
and now
good, you
there's
know?
more than enough,
Make sure they,
right?
Get enough to eat.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. We don't need hangry students.
yeah,
Yep.
that's all I got.
Oh, did you update them on that, community meeting?
Yep.
That we had? I did show up.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I saw, I mean, I didn't know anything about it. Thought it was the previous week.
I didn't either.
I didn't get an invite,
They are.
so I didn't.
I'm surprised, but we had a lot of good support. So,
Good.
yeah.
That's all I got.
What time's the game?
You know what? I think it's 5 today, but I don't even know if I'm gonna make it, cause I'm
Why?
busy with work.
Parent night too, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna
You're
go.
supposed to give a speech to the parents.
Man, I mean, I wish I could.
You were singing the anthem too, weren't you?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of things. My job-
Come on, Rob.
My job not interferes, but it's just, I gotta look out for these families.
You got an hour and a half yet, so you
Right.
can go do it.
I wish.
Go warm
I'm
up your
trying to make
voice.
it back though. I gotta go, actually, I gotta go back up to P-Town. Yeah. I say, boy, I moved for a German.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion by McLean,
Waiting for, second,
second by Nelson.
I'm waiting for somebody to move.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0.
Thank you all.
6-0, 3-3-0.
Oh.